are the New York Knicks. We are the New York Knicks. Say go New York, go New York, go. Go New York, go New York, go. Say go New York, go New York, go. Go New York, go New York, go.
This song always gets me.
Look who's back in the mix, straight out of New York City.
It's just so funny.
And nothing's gonna stop us from hanging a banner. Not the Hawks, Heat, or even Indiana. It's the Knicks back on pace.
Need new rivals. Although the Heat and Indiana both matter still.
Who was on the Hawks at that time? Was Mutombo? Who else was on the Hawks at that time?
In '97, I don't know. I'm not gonna pull that out of my ass right now. Not even worry about it. Ange, we had a crazy game this weekend. Oh my God. The Knicks very well expectedly lost to the best team in the NBA without 2/5 of their starters. People keep saying 3/5, including Mitch, but then they also say iHeart should start, so that doesn't make sense either way. But yeah, that game happened. We're getting a bunch of updates about these three guys we need back, and I consider them way more positively than negatively. And wherever you want to go, you had hot takes you want to talk about. You want to talk about Porzingis. You want to talk about these guys. What do you want to start with?
Well, I'll start with Randle and his injury update. So Woj went before the panel. Woj went before the game. Celtics versus Knicks on TNT or ABC it was. I'm sorry. And they spoke about, Randle injury update and said basically there's no for sure that he's not going to get surgery. He kind of got to wait to see once he gets some contact. He also came out with some news about last season when he hurt his ankle there were some people in the organization that were telling him to consider surgery. And what did he do? He opted to play through it, fight through it, and he battled all the way to the end. We obviously didn't get the result we wanted against Miami, but he gave it a chance. So, and from the looks of it and from the videos that we have seen, from the video from 3 days ago or 2 days ago when he was with his trainer. I don't know how to say his first name, but his last name is something Caesar. We've seen him in the background putting up shots.
Julius Caesar?
Very fluid. Looked good. Don't want to put too much into how he looked just shooting 0-on-0, but I'm pretty sure it's a good sign that he's putting up shots and legit sweating at 7 a.m.
Yeah. No, facts for sure. The full quote that Woj said was, "There's not full clarity on this yet." The last season with his ankle, there was a lot of suggestion that to have that surgery during the season, he didn't. His inclination was to play, even hurt, and that's his goal right now, to put anything off till the off season. But that's still fluid. This has not been fully decided.
Joe, if I'm hurt, if I'm an NBA player and I get hurt, and I don't think I'm going to play for the whole season, I don't want no videos of me going up on the internet. I don't want no videos of me on the internet working out, making it seem like I'm coming back when I'm not. So if I'm not going to say Randle approved of both videos, the video of him with his trainer and the video of him at MSG. But Joe, if he wasn't coming back, there would be none of these videos being posted all over social media.
I fully expect Randle to be back healthy, whether he should be or not. I have not a back, not healthy, not 100%. I actually, so I wanted to actually ask you a question based on these follow-ups, because we all know Julius Randle is a tank. He's going to play for better or for worse. If he's at 70% and he's cleared, he's cleared. That's all that matters. That's all he needs.
He's going.
Do you think the Knicks would have been better off playing Obi Toppin 100% last year and Randle sitting out in the playoffs? Do you think whatever Randle gave us in the postseason was better than what Obi would have been more playing time?
Yeah. And I'm only saying that just because of what we've seen, the little bit of we've seen from Obi this season. In the beginning of the season when he had a little more minutes with the Pacers, I mean, his production was up in terms of his numbers, but there was no real impact on the game. And on top of that, Pacers traded for Siakam. So what does that tell you? Obi's a free agent this season. They traded for him and then signed the guy at his same position midway through the season. So that tells you how they feel about Obi. No? I
mean, to compare Obi Toppin and either Julius Randle or Pascal Siakam is just so far. Like, Pascal Siakam and Julius Randle are both all NBA caliber players. I'm not trying to compare them like that. Like, Obi Toppin's never going to be that, no matter how much people ever wanted him to be. But so I had another question based on this. What do you think is going to end up being better for us in the postseason again? Do you think we'd be better off getting whatever out of like Bojan Bogdanovic, OG Anunoby, Precious Achiuwa, or do you think we'd be better with 70% Julius Randle again?
I just want to think from a player's perspective, Joe, and especially Randle, just like a hard ass dude. If Randle has any inclination on playing, and especially once it becomes postseason, Buddy is going to play, and he's going to play no less amount of minutes than what he is already playing now.
I don't care about him wanting to play or not. I'm saying, do you think as a fan of the Knicks, they're better off with him doing that?
Well, then you're giving me Bogey and who else?
Dude, it's OG, Precious, Bogey. Like, they're just however they fill up that slot of time.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I would have to see more Bogdanovic play. And God, he can't guard a fucking soul. That's first thing. Dude could put the ball in the basket, but cannot guard a fucking soul. I don't know. I'd have to see more. I want to see even more of OG with this team. If OG comes back before Randle.
Oh, he's going to come back before Randle. He's going to be back in a week.
Before Randle, loud and clear. We're pretty sure upon that, right? I want to see more of OG in the Knicks lineup without Randle because I want to see what he could give us on the offensive end. I think he's capable of more. Will the difference between OG giving us more help without Randle? I don't know.
I'm excited to find out, man. You know, I've been a huge OG guy, and I wanted to see what his team could look like to see OG Anunoby play without Julius Randle is going to be exciting for me and my personal narratives one way or another. I don't know, man. I really don't want this dude to come back 70%. He hasn't even had a good playoffs ever. Out of the both times he played in the playoffs, he's been bad. Like, his percentages dropped down 10 to 15% from the regular season. He's not a great defender, actually.
Last season, give him a break, though.
No. No. You choose to play. You got to impact winning positively. If you're out there, you're doing what it takes to win the game. That doesn't mean you're jacking shots. That doesn't mean you're not rebounding as much. Like I said, he's not a good defender. He's
so
naturally
Obi
not.
Would have gave us more last year.
What'd you say?
So Obi would have gave us more last year.
I think it could have been comparable. And from what Randle actually gave you, dude, he couldn't do anything against Evan Mobley. He was never gonna. At least Obi Toppin could run up and down the court. I'm not saying. There's no part of me in life that thinks Obi Toppin's better at basketball than Julius Randle. But 70% of Julius Randle was a net negative to the Knicks, and he will be again this year if he plays and he's not healthy. That's all I want to say about that.
Joe, also, I don't want to judge him too soon, right? When he does come back, like we did at the beginning of the season. Not us, maybe you, but not me, Joe. There was already fans coming at him at the beginning of this season for not getting off to a good start.
No, he was off injury. I don't care about that.
Coming back from injury. Okay, so you weren't a part.
I don't care about the first 5 games of the regular season. I want you to work your way back. You know, I don't want you to do that in the postseason. That's it.
Are you giving him 10 after this injury? You're giving him 10 games? You're giving him to the end of the season? Till like it comes playoff time, Joe?
He's gonna come back by mid to late March. We all know who Julius Randle is. He's gonna come back. What happened last year? He came back right before the playoffs. Like,
that's 3 weeks, Joe. 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, I know. I think he's gonna be back. And all that I want is that if he's not, at least like, just don't be negative in the playoffs, man. Recognize that if he has a better team around him, OG Anunoby, Dante DiVincenzo, they're all better shooters. Just impact the game positively, and if your shot's not falling or you can't attack the way you want, just be assist man Julius Randle that you can be. This guy's gotten triple doubles before. He's gotten 8 or 9 assists in the game before. Like, just don't be a negative. And if you are a negative, if you recognize you're a negative, don't be the toughest guy in the room and actually recognize that you're like, yo, I should only play 15 minutes or I shouldn't play. He's not like that. He's not programmed like that. Most people wouldn't be, but like that recognition of noticing what you're doing is hurting your team is all that we could really ask for, even if no athlete truly wants to do that except for Ben Simmons.
Seeing like just seeing the cohesiveness of this team right now, even though they've been losing, you see how fucking hard they play. You see some positives in the shooting. Like you see like Bogey had a 6-for-6 game. You see Dante keeping up his production. You see Josh Hart, absolute great game last game. If you happen to watch it, Joe, I don't know if you caught much of it, but Josh Hart had his hands on like every possession, and you just seen him sprinting, loose balls, diving. I mean, he was absolutely everywhere. But just seeing the cohesiveness of this team right now, without Randle and without OG, if you throw those two guys in there 100% healthy, Joe, there is a chance, we don't know, that they both could come back and they could be 100% healthy. I'm not saying right away. I'm saying in 5 to 10 games. And if you just think of it like that, if you just throw those two guys, those two names back in the lineup, why can't they just string along another bunch of wins like how they did in January?
I fully expect OG and Anunoby to be back. Do you actually want to you want me to go through his timeline real quick and then we'll get into him?
Sure.
So for obviously OG and Randle, they both played together and then they both started missing the same game. Randle got hurt in the Miami game. OG, his pain tolerance, the swelling in his right elbow became unbearable after the Miami game. So it started as pain tolerance, ended up being loose bone spurs that he got removed surgery on February 8th, which is trade deadline day. There are articles coming out that he's going to be reevaluated at the end of next week. Obviously, the end of next week quote is from what Woj said Saturday night. So is it the end of next week this week because it's supposed to be February 29th? Or is it the end of next week because when you're writing the end of next week on Monday, it means next Friday? I'm assuming it means February 29th because that was the original thing. They said 3 weeks after surgery. And then everything I'm hearing and reading from like other podcasters, media guys, whatever, it seems like he should be back at the very, very latest mid-March, but ideally, more than likely before March 10th. Within the next 2 weeks, basically, I would expect OG and Anunoby on a court.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go with Woj. CAA ties are there. If anybody's going to give you the correct information, it's probably going to be him because he's probably hearing it firsthand.
Yeah.
Joe, I got to bring this up. Did you hear that story? Did you read? I don't know if it was a podcast. I don't know, whatever it was. But Tyrese Halliburton was talking about how he got traded to Kings. I'm sorry, how he got traded from the Kings to the Pacers. And while the trade call was going on, I guess it was like the agent of Tyrese, and I guess somebody from the other side, like Woj was on the call with them the whole entire time and like midway through, like interrupted the conversation. Like Woj is in there, Joe. Motherfucker was on the phone while there was a trade deal going down.
Dude, I would fully expect that Woj and Shams for CAA and Clutch respectively are just like, if they're not on those calls, they're literally like the first text, you know?
Is that allowed legally?
Yeah, why wouldn't it be? They're not another front office. There's no tampering. They're literally just the media. Which at the end of the day, all sports is sports entertainment. They say in their antitrust things, they're sports entertainment. It matters more for them to get ratings than it does for them to play the game.
You think Woj and Shams hate each other? Is it like you think it's like...
No, it's probably like a healthy rivalry. Also, Shams, like you have to think, Shams is so young, man. He definitely looks at Woj as like a respected older generation guy.
Take over the game soon, Joe. Shams is like, he's trending. And plus, I think he's low-key dating Kay Adams.
It's not low-key. I think that's pretty public.
Oh, but they asked him a question on, I think it was on FanDuel TV or another platform, whatever it was. They asked him, are you? Oh, Pat McAfee asked him, are you and Kay Adams dating? And he shut it down, kind of.
I mean, whatever. What do you expect them to say on TV? It's not they're Shams doesn't want to be the story. That's not how he gets paid. That's not how he makes his money. He makes money by reporting news, not by being the guy that news is about, you know?
That's a good way to break it down.
So I think we both agree on this. I see a lot of the chat, by the way. We're going to get to your comments in a little bit. We wanted to do like an opening monologue about all three guys on our thumbnail. Obviously, we're doing Julius first. We're on OG now. We're going to finish up with Mitch, and then we'll get to all your comments. Everyone hit the thumbs up button if you can. Really appreciate it. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Anyone on IG, we appreciate you watching. Just come over to YouTube. It helps us read your comments and all that. But do you and I both agree that OG and Anunoby is probably coming back before Julius Randle?
Yeah, for sure. From all the reports and even OG. Actually, Steve Popper asked him a weird question that Vinny actually brought to my attention. Vin, do you remember that? What Steve Popper asked him? Okay, Vinny don't remember, but I think he asked him are you coming back? Are you out for the season? I don't know if he asked him, is he out for the season?
Oh, yeah. And then he made a joke. He was like, yeah, March 1st. Or what did he say? Yeah, he was like, March 1st. Just kidding.
Yeah, he
About to OG or Randle?
to OG.
I don't think there was ever.
No,
a
I didn't see
chance
none
that-
on OG. I saw him talk to Randle.
That was Randle? I'm sorry. Then I got it all messed up then.
Oh yeah, I mean, dude, for what? Yeah, I mean that makes sense. I don't think there's two things. I don't think any of us think that Randle's out for the year, and I also don't think any of us thought that Randle was really coming back before OG. Maybe some people thought it before the reports on Saturday that Woj was saying on national TV, but the guy had a 3-week injury. Like you got surgery, 3 weeks, you got reevaluated. Within a few days after that, you could play again. Randle's so up in the air about whether he should even get surgery in the first place. I don't think it was ever really a concern. What do you think the team looks like with OG Anunoby back? So I'm assuming he's going to slide in immediately for Josh Hart in the starting lineup, right? Go back to the starting three. We'll have Brunson, Devo, OG, Precious, iHeart starting 1 through 5. What do you think that looks like compared to where we're at now?
I think it's going to be a world of a difference. You're looking at Josh Hart's numbers right now. If you look at them, they're really high, right? He's almost averaging a triple-double every game, but he's playing 40 something minutes, and we're considering that a good game. Josh Hart could get 25 to 30 minutes, put up almost the same amount of production. I'm saying this as if and when OG's coming back in the lineup. He could put up the same production that he's putting up, a little bit less, with way less minutes. So it's just right now we're asking these guys to do so much extra, and Josh Hart is not supposed to be bringing this type of production to the team right now, but he is. But when you bring him off the bench, his good game is going to look like a great game. And obviously we need OG to guard. Joe, OG is the perfect guy. We needed at least one of the two, Randle and OG, back against the Celtics, just for the size and strength purposes, preferably OG.
Having OG Anunoby guard Jason Tatum versus Josh Hart's a world of difference. Or Precious.
You got to take away one of these guys. Once we come playoff time and getting close to the end of the season and we really know what this team is about, and OG's back in the lineup and hopefully Randle, our size and strength is just, we're big.
Real quick, the 5 to 10 games before Randle and OG got hurt, Josh Hart played 26, 28, 26, 29, 23, 28, 23 minutes. Since they both have been out, and those were all in the 20s, since the Miami game, 39, 42, 38, 41, 37, 30, they're all 40s. The Orlando game, he only played 30. Everything else is 40 plus, basically. Josh Hart is best suited in a 25 to 30 minute role. He's best suited covering the second best perimeter player offensively on the team. It just putting OG back in there, and he's not suited to be an off the ball catch and shoot player at all. That's OG Anunoby's strength is hitting corner threes and being a 3-point shooter, and then maybe a pump fake and drive. Josh Hart's strength is getting the ball up the court, running as fast as possible, putting all of his effort in, and trying his hardest. The thing is, when you try your hardest, it works. Josh Hart, biggest compliment and detriment all at the same time. He tries too hard to play 40 minutes in a game. He tries perfectly hard enough to play 25 to 30 minutes in a game. Frank, what up?
What's up, gentlemen?
How's it going,
Hello,
man?
boys.
Good to have you come on.
Good.
Frank, you're huh?
I was thinking about it. Yeah, I've got a little beard action going.
Looking good. It's looking good.
I was gonna say, Angelo, your camera is absolutely amazing. The visual quality is great. Your eyes look great in the camera, kid.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
That's beautiful. Frank, you're coming on at a perfect time because we're about to talk about your man's next, Mitchell Robinson.
Oh yeah, love it.
Let's go.
I was listening to you guys. I just wanted to say real quick, we got our first real test, and we just did not have the personnel to be successful. We kept it close, extremely. I was just listening to what you were saying about OG and Josh. These guys are not playing the roles that they're supposed to be playing, and I think once we get a little bit more healthy, we could start really. The beauty of this team is that we're going to be able to mix match and do whatever we need to do for any kind of matchup. And unfortunately, our hands are just tied a little bit. We're looking for Josh Hart to do what we need OG Anunoby to do. And unfortunately, you're just not going to be able to guard Jason Tatum. But continue on. I apologize. I just wanted to just get that little piece off.
No, it's all good. I'm going to give the Mitch Robinson timeline real quick just to remind everyone, and then we'll have you go first and then Ange about it. So again, Mitch injured his left ankle December 8th against Boston. He underwent surgery the next week. The expected recovery time for his surgery is 8 to 10 weeks. The 10-week mark actually hit last week, which will make a lot of sense with him starting to post positively on TikTok, Snapchat. Mitchell Robinson's awesome, dude. He keeps Snapchat in business for Knicks fans, I swear to God, because he posts all of his stuff on Snapchat first. The Knicks applied for a disabled player exception. Obviously, a lot of people and fans don't know what that means. They immediately thought worst case scenario, like it meant that he was out for the year. I mentioned it before, but the disabled player exception can actually be given to a team by an independent doctor that thought a player was going to be out till June 10th or 15th. And then the guy could magically come back, or like it's an act of God or whatever they say for miracles. And then they could have had the guy that they signed with the money and the guy back and basically just have free money. So that's why you apply for it, even if you're a team that's not going to get it. Again, the 10-week mark was last week, though. This guy's posted a medicine ball training skip. He's been posting on Instagram and TikTok and in Snapchat, which indicates that which he wasn't doing for months. Literally, he was sad. He posted, "Why is this happening to me?" Went black on social media, MIA entirely, and then started coming back in 2 weeks. So media members, people are starting to say that they think he'll be back in mid to late March. Tim Bontemps on the Zach Lowe podcast said that. He's started shooting. He hasn't started running yet, but that should be momentarily, and he has the walking boot off. So, Frank, what do you think of Mitch coming back, hopefully in the next month, and when do you expect that to happen, and what do you think they look like when he gets back?
So first off, I'm not going to make any assumptions. I'm going to speak from a place where I want the success of our team. Mitch needs to take as much time as he needs. First off, shout out to Eugenio. You get a discount double check for your boy. We have not seen a full season out of Mitchell Robinson, correct? So with that being said, I want to take as much time as I can with the defensive anchor of our team, especially come playoff time, because we all know defense wins championships. But more importantly, this team is not in dire needs of Mitchell Robinson, even more of a reason to have him come back as slow as possible. These big guys need a little extra pampering when it comes to getting back to 100%, because especially a guy like Mitch Rob, who moves like a baby deer sometimes, it just kind of seems like he doesn't feel super comfortable in his body. That's something you saw when Isaiah Hartenstein took over. You were like, wow, this guy is very comfortable in his body. You look at Precious Achiuwa, this guy is very comfortable in his body. Mitch still kind of looks like his knees clap together when he walks for too long. So with that being said, I want him to take as much time as humanly possible, because in all reality, he doesn't really open up our offense. He kind of just gives you the alley-oop, and he plays excellent defense, as a big man, not perimeter defense, but by the rim. So do I think that he is an extremely important part of our Knicks? I think he's shown that, unfortunately for him, he is not. That's what happens when you go out for long stretches and long stints and you don't really get that action in game. Guys start to step up. And I
don't mean to cut you off, and that's what happens when you have the Precious Achiuwa trade. It's not the OG trade, not the IQ trade, not the RJ trade. No. This is the Precious Achiuwa trade right now.
Yeah, no, he looks – and you know what? I was poo-pooing him, and I was wrong, and I have no problem saying I was wrong. The guy looks like he can be not very, very good, but way more than serviceable, and that's huge. He's grabbing a ton of offensive rebounds.
Led the league in minutes last month.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to happen on a team that's as depleted as we are. And you know what? I'll say this as well. This is the NBA. You give anybody 30-plus minutes, and for the most part, they're going to produce. But I will say this, Precious has been producing at a much higher level in which any of us saw him, doing. Like, lights out. iHeart came in and he was grabbing all these offensive rebounds, and then all of a sudden you got this guy Precious getting these minutes, and he's playing just as well as iHeart. Not as good as a passer. Seems to be a little bit better of a scorer, but I think iHeart is just as good. He just doesn't take the same amount of opportunities. But when it comes to Mitchell Robinson, I think that he is something that when healthy, 100% healthy, we do not need to play him a massive amount of minutes. He could be a plug and play guy. Unfortunately, we paid him all that money. So it's kind of going to make it seem asinine to not play him. But I don't know, man. It's a really good problem the Knicks have right now. Really good.
Oh, Ange walks away from the thing literally as he's about to be teed up to go next. So I'm going to start pulling up a couple of comments in the meantime. Obviously, we have all the shouts to the chat and channel. Thank you. Appreciate it. I know we're going to scroll back up in a little bit, but one of these I wanted to pull up. Jay from YouTube goes, I'm at this point where I'd rather see Achua in a Knicks jersey than Mitch. Ange, you were about to go next about what you think about Robinson and then maybe Achua in the meantime. If you had to pick two of the three who are on the team next year, Mitch, Ihart, and Achua. Only two of the three.
But I need to know Precious's contract. I need to know what's the status on his deal.
He's a restricted free agent.
Precious is the guy. Precious is the guy out. I hate to say
after the season.
He's an RFA at the end of the season. Yep.
Yeah.
He's gonna play himself out of,
You want the full contract breakdown real quick?
Sure.
Well, I got it. All right. Precious's current contract is 4 years, $12.5 contract with the Miami Heat. This is what it was coming off of, including $12.5 million guaranteed and an annual average salary of 3.2. In 2023-24, Chua will earn a base salary of 4.3, while carrying a cap hit of 4.3 and a dead value cap of 4.3, likely in cent.
He's going to play himself out of New York. He's going to get 10 to 12 anywhere. You might even see a team throw him 15.
Yeah, I mean, if you keep playing 40 minutes a game.
Unfortunately, Ihart and Precious are both playing themselves out of New York.
This is the nature of the – oh, no, Frank, you think Ihart's gone?
Well, isn't he – is this his last year?
It's his last year here too, yeah, and they have the bird rights, but it's like the negative version of bird rights where they can only offer him 140% of his current salary. He's making 9.5 this year, I think, with incentives. The most they can offer, adding incentives on top, is like up to 15 point something or 16 mil.
Okay, that's not – what's Mitch getting?
15 mil, de-escalating.
So maybe winning and being in a place where you're comfortable matters a little more than 18 to 20?
And you took the words out of my mouth. I think it's really going to come down to the player's willingness to take a bit of a cut. If that's really what it's going to boil down to. But I think that the Knicks have kind of shown that they're building a culture and a winning culture that we have the possibility of making the Eastern Conference Finals within a couple of years, or if not this year, if we're healthy.
Hey, who says we can't get? I'm not saying who says, but why do you think, Joe, we can't get Ihart for that much money when Leon has happened to manage all these deals to where they're very friendly? We got Deuce on 3 years, 12.
I don't think it's smart to give your center position $45 to $50 million combined.
I agree.
Here, do you guys this is actually a great segue. So remember how I was supposed to give my top blah, blah, blah centers in the NBA? Like about 2-3 weeks ago, there was literally someone in our chat. They haven't been back since. So, I mean, thank God. I don't need this type of BS homerism in the chats. I mean, Ange is about that. Frank might be about that. I'm not about homerism. If you think Mitchell Robinson's the best center in the NBA, I don't need it.
Wait, Joe. So was the argument initially about I had Mitch in the top 10?
No, I mean, it might be around there. No, but I'm making fun of you, Ange. You didn't actually say that. There was someone in our chat that literally said Mitchell Robinson was the best center in the NBA.
Listen.
When we brought up Jokic and Embiid, they were like, "Those are superstars. It doesn't count." I'm like, that's not how it goes.
I gotta stop you. So one thing New York fandom has a really, really bad habit of doing.
Irrationality.
It's like just like what's in front of you is all you can see. Let's not forget that Mitchell Robinson is a top 10 center when he's healthy.
He's not. I'm glad you want to hear the list.
I want to hear the fucking list.
All right, hold on. I'm gonna just all right, yeah, Joe. I was gonna go from memory, but please go ahead.
No, yeah. So I'm just gonna go until they go. I'm just gonna go until they're actually there. Number 1, Nikola Jokic. Number 2, Joel Embiid. Number 3, Anthony Davis. Number 4, Bam Adebayo. Number 5, Domantas Sabonis. Number 6, Rudy Gobert. Number 7, Kristaps Porzingis. Number 8, Alperen Sengun. Number 9, Victor Wembanyama. Number 10, Triple J. Number 11, Brook Lopez. Number 12, Miles Turner. Number 13, Jonas Valanciunas. 14, 15, I have Ihart and Robinson back to back.
You're nuts. You're nuts having Jonas.
I don't know, man.
You're nuts. You're nuts having Jonas. Who was
Frank?
Who was below
J. Jaren Jackson, right?
Listen.
Brooke 10 is Triple J. 11 is Brooke Lopez.
Right.
12 is Miles Turner. 13 Jonas Valanciunas. 14, 15 I Heart Robinson.
Who was 10 again?
Jaren Jackson Jr.
I would have him above Brooke Lopez. I would
Wow.
have him.
Brooke Lopez. I mean, and I made this again, like for this year, like in a couple of years, like Brooke Lopez might be off the list entirely. You know what I mean? Like Victor Wembanyama's 9 right now. He's going to be number 1 in 5 years, or number 2 in 5 years. You know what I mean? I have a list until 30. Derek Lively is 30th. Jalen Duran is 25th. Like those two dudes are going to be top 15 in the next 2 years.
Okay, Joe, Derek Lively?
Derek Lively is a monster, dude. Have you watched any Mavericks games? He's literally one of the only starting centers in the NBA that's been a rookie in the past 10 years.
Listen,
monster.
Due to field goal percentage, offensive rebounds, and blocks alone, while this guy is healthy, he's a top 10 center in the league. It's not
you gotta shoot free throws. You can't be played off in the playoffs. I just think Clint Capella's getting mentioned. I've Clint Capella 22nd because of injuries. He's knocked him down a lot. The thing is, between 11, which is Brooke Lopez, 10 Triple J, I think is like a slight tier above the rest of the guys, 11, 12, 13, whatever. 11 Brooke Lopez, 30 Derek Lively. Every single one of these dudes is almost interchangeable team to team. Like if you told me the Knicks had Yusuf Nurkic, who I have 21st, instead of Ihart right now, I don't think we're 5 games worse. You know what I mean? If we had Walker Kessler instead of Mitchell Robinson, who actually is pretty good and leads the league in blocks per minute, also pretty good. You know what I mean? It's just like these are all interchangeable dudes.
I have an idea. I have an idea moving forward because I just saw the comment, are you kidding me? Brooks hitting threes and grabbing rebounds. Mitch isn't doing that. So I want to make a point, and I think this is super important. I think this is something that nobody does when it comes to comparing players. We have to talk about age as well. When it comes to guys like Brooke Lopez has way more seasoning. These guys so if I start to look at centers or if I look at positionals, you have to start looking at an age group where you pick an age and then you have a year below and above or whatever. You have to find a window in which you're categorizing these specific players at, because to compare Mitchell Robinson to Brooke Lopez is not a fair comparison, because Brooke Lopez has evolved his game so many times to fit to where he's going. Like, you can't do that to guys like Mitchell Robinson, who've been in the league for how many years and haven't played an entire season's worth. So, I agree. It's hard to categorize these players because, Brooke Lopez is shooting threes and grabbing rebounds, but also Brooke Lopez is playing on a team in which he needs to do that, and he also evolved his game so he can fit into a more modern type of basketball. Mitch hasn't been in the league, hasn't won as much, hasn't had enough time on the floor to even really evolve his game. We all know that Mitch can play offense. We all know that he grew up loving Anthony Davis, and he can dribble and he can shoot and he can do all these things. But we don't see that because that's not what the Knicks need.
Here, let me ask you guys a question just to indicate how much, literally 11 to 50 is interchangeable. If the Knicks had Nick Richards and Mark Williams, the Charlotte Hornets backcourt, which, Mark Williams has been hurt most of the year, but if they had those two guys instead of Ihart and Mitch, how much better or worse do you think this team is? I don't think it's 2 games in either direction.
Joe, we won a whole playoff series because of Mitchell Robinson last year, though.
Yeah, that's with Tom Thibodeau as the coach, telling him coaching him up, stay in the lane, rebound no matter what.
Do I think there's a
Precious Achiuwa didn't average more than 1.8 offensive boards in any season in his career prior to this year, and he gets on the Knicks, and now he's offensive rebounding all the time. That's coaching. That's not the center position is interchangeable unless you have one of the best guys. Sorry to cut you off, Frank.
No, you're good, buddy. Do I think that I agree with you that the win-loss, gain and loss is 1 or 2 games when interchanging all 3 of these guys. Do I think that our offense is suited better around guys like Isaiah Hartenstein that are more mobile and can actually run like a point center type of position? Because we've seen him do that at the free throw line. I think that these guys give more offensively than what Mitchell give, but I think Mitchell gives way more defensively. And it's not even close. So it's kind of depends on, once again, the Knicks have a fantastic issue. When healthy, we have the ability to plug and play different types of guys to fit the different types of teams we're playing.
Hey, Joe, I think I mentioned this once in another live stream or podcast. How I was listening to Nikola Jokic talk on Michael Porter Jr.'s podcast. I believe it was that one, but whatever. It was on somebody's podcast. He said that the team he had the most trouble with in his career was the Lakers team when there was Anthony Davis, when there's JaVale McGee, and when there was Mitchell Robinson. So who do the Knicks have? I'm not saying Jokic and the Knicks.
Wait, what? Mitchell Robinson was never on the Lakers, so that's not the name you're not.
I'm sorry. Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee, and Anthony Davis. So
I mean, dude, last year he said the Wolves gave him the most trouble because they have Naz Reid, Rudy Gobert, and Karl Anthony
That's what I'm
Towns.
saying.
And they beat him. They beat him in 5 games. They beat him in 5.
We have that same recipe with Mitchell Robinson, with iHeart, and with Precious.
My thing is that it's interchangeable to have these players. And the point that it's interchangeable is why I would rather just, like, they're not going to keep all 3 of these guys at the end of this year. It's not happening. 0% chance.
Well,
So who's going, Joe?
I mean, at this point, I think iHeart's going to get a bag somewhere. I remember earlier in the year, I was harping that I think they should trade Mitch. They should trade Mitch, keep iHeart, because like they're not going to keep both. And now they have Precious, who's also going to get 10 to 12 somewhere else. Probably not going to be there. We have 2 first-round picks. Draft a center. Tyler Smith, Klingon from UConn if he actually drops.
You want him to go younger?
Dude, it's not about going younger or older. It's about, again, Tom Thibodeau's the coach. You would have Mitchell Robinson as the starter still.
You need experience.
And you're in love with the name and veterans. That's it. You're in love with the name itself.
I disagree. I disagree, Joe. I think that Angelo knows that.
Khalil Ware is going to be not, like, you know what I mean? All these dudes are just going to go into this conglomerate of 11 to 50.
Joe, but you know Thibodeau doesn't play young guys. You know he prefers a little more seasoned guys. As we're seeing right now, Alec Burks is getting more minutes over Deuce.
Do you think the Knicks are drafting players this year? Are you going to tell me they're just trading those picks? Because they literally have to, for the sake of the salary cap, draft younger players to reset those salary caps. The reason why Precious Achiuwa costs $4 million this year is because he's on a rookie scale contract.
Jericho Sims, this kid's fucking right. What about him?
Dude, Jericho Sims is so mid. He's awesome for 12 minutes. I don't like that's not Jericho Sims would still be the 5th ranked center in the if going into this draft class, Jericho Sims would be the 5th ranked center. Like it's not
I agree.
It's not like I guarantee you next year, like someone's gonna draft Klingon. I forget his first name out of UConn. He's literally the reason why they're the number 1 seed. He's a defensive monster. He's gonna help them win the title again, maybe. Like someone's gonna draft this dude 12th overall, and it's gonna be like Jalen Duren all over again. And people are gonna be like, oh, wow, there's good young players. Again, Derek Lively is starting as a rookie in the NBA, and I have him last on this list of 30 behind Andre Drummond, but he would still be doing fine for a team.
Joe, you like that scenario?
Precious and iHeart, better than Mitch. I just want everyone to think, like, do you like people are obsessed with the fact that Tibbs doesn't play kids? We are drafting people. There are going to be rookies on this team next year. I just need everyone to like think about that and like really come to grips with it.
Joe, that doesn't mean we're going to have to play them. We're going to have other guys on the team as well. Maybe sign other guys. We might have a star next season. We don't know the roster. The roster could be.
First of all, if there's a star next year and there's a guy making 40 to 45 mil, you 1,000% need to draft rookies. You need someone that makes $3 million that's good on the team. You need, like, that's how, like, the teams that have max contracts, they're playing first and second year players because they have guys that make 45 mil. You have 150 mil, give or take, to work with. If one guy's making 50, you need someone making 3. And no veteran makes $3 million except for Taj Gibson. Veterans make 8 to 15, and you can't have too many of those dudes. You literally need it's like a scale, man. You need to balance it out. That's why they call it a rookie scale.
Taj Gibson's catching strays right now.
I mean, Taj Gibson, the 2024 NBA player, yes, 100%. Please retire.
I just wanted to add what you were saying about the Lakers, Ange, about Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee and how we have the same kind of recipe. The only problem is the money because JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard came at a minimum, I'm pretty sure. You know, so like, yeah, in theory, it would be really nice to be able to keep all these guys, but I mean, and at the same time too, I do agree with Joe too. The reason that the center is such an interchangeable piece now is because the league's gone small. You can't really, unless you are a guy who is ball dominant like a Joel Embiid or a Nikola Jokic, like they are kind of just in. You can literally replace Mitchell Robinson with the guy from the Hawks who was I can't remember his name.
Either
The
Capella.
center. Yeah, Clint Capella. He's Clint Capella. And, at the end of the day, Clint
Also-
Capella's not really doing it either. You know
Right,
what I'm
dude.
saying?
Remember last year I was literally like, dude, if you threw them all in like a bag and just picked one out, Clint Capella, Mitchell Robinson, Jakob Poeltl, none of those guys make your team better or worse if you already had one of the three. It's
No.
the same thing.
No, and I think the only reason none of these guys really make your team any better is because I kind of look at them as two-dimensional type of players. Defense and around the rim catching alley-oops. And like if you were to throw Mitchell on the second unit with a point guard not as established as Jalen, then that alley-oop becomes a massive, massive piece because you can play the pick and roll ball and you have somebody that can finish around the rim. But the way the Knicks are currently instituted, they're guard heavy. They work from the inside. They want to push the ball out, and the only person that's really going to get to the rim, there's two guys, Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle. And other than that, it's just
Off the ball, OG and Anunoby is the best cutter in the league, but he doesn't have the ball in his hand in that scenario.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. I'm talking with ball going to the rack.
We have two guys.
That's our offense, and it only opens up shooters. So really what ends up happening is Mitchell Robinson has to float out a little bit, and then if he floats out, he's useless. He's useless. Yeah. So a guy like Mitch is really going to really succeed with this team coming off of the bench as a second unit player. But the problem is he makes too much money. It's the problem.
Yeah. I think we're good on the center talk. Ange, I know you wanted to talk about Kristaps Porzingis and pull the clip up if you wanted to get that.
He's hurt. It's hurting my soul watching this guy play well. I love KP.
Kristaps Porzingis, 7th on my list, by the way.
KP, listen, man, it's I'm happy to see him be successful. I hate to see it be in Boston, but man, when this guy's shooting and he's already walking away mid-shot, you can see this guy has figured it out.
Here, Ange, while you're looking, I'm gonna start pulling up some chat stuff. I'm only gonna scroll up so much. G Money, salute. What up, man? How's it going?
The quicker you can get.
Oh, you already got it. All right, go ahead. You have to also change our thing that you have up.
How do I do that?
The younger you are as a player, the more you just.
That I didn't know. We're gonna have to hold that. Okay.
You can play that like that. It's no big deal.
Want to put yourself first, and it's like, but my minutes, my points, my this, it's just natural for every young player.
Can't see anything on the screen, by the way.
And the older you get, and the quicker you can.
I forget it.
Mentally, we're like, listen, all of that is gonna take it.
Yeah, we don't have to actually show the thing. Just what you wanted to talk about it. So what do you out of what he said, basically the maturity and then being booed in New York, like what was your original take? Because you were pretty hot about it.
It's just nice to see you got a player that played here and that we all, I guess, once hated. I don't know if anybody did, but I did, that's for sure. Just nice to see that he's finally taken some. It seems like it's sort of like an accountability to like. Would love Tyler Smith, Joe.
Oh no, I'm going to put these up while you're talking. Just go ahead. Oh,
yeah. I got you. It's just nice to see him sort of take some sort of accountability and understand like the perception of him and the game and how it is when you're young and to what he is now. So you've seen him when he was at the Knicks. He was kind of the star of the world. Didn't even know he was the star in the world until he happened to get traded away from the Knicks, been asked to get traded from the Knicks. And I remember him saying in an interview when he finally got traded, and he said that he thought that every place was like the Garden and every place was like New York. And it's until that he actually got to those other teams that he realized, man, New York is a special place to play and a special place to live. And now you see him, the natural, like you said, Joe, the natural maturation process of a human. Just understand that it's less about you and more about the team and how we're going to win and what it looks like to play next to Jason Tatum, you know? So it's just nice to see KP finally owning up to how his game was to how it is now and how it has become. You know, he's obviously one of the best centers in the league now, playing on one of the best teams in the NBA. And, you know, he's in a good spot. It's just nice to see. You see a lot of fans kind of turning the tide. And I feel like I'm kind of one of those. I'll troll him on Twitter. I still called him a bitch that night against the Celtics. Had to. But, you know, it's nice to see KP finally grow up. He's of age, you know. Those are my thoughts.
Frank, what about you?
I'll never forget watching the game against the Bucks. I was living in Queens, and he dunked on Giannis, and I went fucking nuts. And then immediately the air left my body, and I remember I was dating this girl at the time. I looked at her and I was like, he fucking blew his knee out. And my heart was, because he was on that stretch of 30 games, he was putting up buckets. It was his year. Like, it was time. I was a huge KP fan. I remember, I'm going to go down memory lane. I hope you guys don't mind a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I remember when we were going through the draft, we had Phil Jackson, right? Super excited for the triangle, having Carmelo be the focal point of the triangle. And then I looked at the draft and I said, who is Phil Jackson going to draft? And then I saw this 7-foot Latvian who was just shooting the lights out and catching putback dunks. And I remember I called Vin and I said, Vin, the Knicks are going to draft this guy called Kristaps Porzingis. He says, how do you know? I said,
out of here, Vin.
I swear to God. Vin probably don't remember because he doesn't remember anything. I swear to God, on God.
That's not even that hot of a take. I feel like he was projected to go 4th or 5th. It was clearly a top 3 draft year.
Fuck is Kristaps?
Yeah, I remember I was watching clips and I was like, I fell in love with his game because I'm a big guy, 6'5", 6'6". Actually, I found out I grew to 6'6", and I could shoot. Let's fucking go. It's on my license. I put it when I was 18. I grew it. Let's go, 6'6". Let's go.
Hey, give me a double check for that, Frank.
So here.
Yeah.
So I always loved KP. I always thought he was going to be a fantastic basketball player. When he blew out his knee, my heart broke, and I knew that was going to be the end of KP in New York. To see him go to Washington, you know, cut his teeth a little bit more and get the contract with the Celtics. Fuck Boston, right? Like, that, it is what it is, but KP deserves to be on a team where, I'm a big Latvian scout. Listen, they hit me up every year. Every year they fly me out. I stay at a Holiday Inn. I get treated.
It's not pronounced that way.
You got a hot tub?
It's warm vodka.
Oh my God!
I drink the warmest vodka they have, and then we punch snowmen.
Yo, can I? 2 things. One, we're trying to get to like 50 likes on YouTube. We're currently at 20, so we can get a couple more people to smash that like button. We have about 40 people watching right now. Do you guys want to hear how horrendous this draft was that Kristaps Porzingis was in?
It was bad.
I don't even know where we
It was 2015. We were 4th overall. The top 3 were the top 3. That's why 4 through 8, any one of these guys could on 4th. So if 1 was Karl-Anthony Towns, actually good. 2 was D'Angelo Russell. Decent. It gets bad from here. Yeah. Jahlil Okafor, not in the league. Yeah. Kristaps Porzingis, 4th, actually a great pick. 5, Mario Hezonja, not in the league. 6, Will Cauley-Stein. I think he's out of the league now. 7, Emmanuel Mudiay, not here. 8, Stanley Johnson. If he is still here, it's very fringe end of rotation.
He got drafted by the Pistons, right?
Yep. 9 is Frank Kaminsky to the Hornets. 10 is Justice Winslow, so he's never been able to stay healthy, fortunately. 11's a good pick. 11's Miles Turner, so that's good.
1, 2, 3?
It was Karl-Anthony Towns, D'Angelo Russell, Jahlil Okafor. 11 was Trey Lyles, actually in the league, and then 12 was Trey Lyles, 11 was Miles Turner, and 13 was Devin Booker. This draft, dude, look up 2015. This is horrendous. There's like, out of the first 30 people, there's 6 still in the league right now. This is 9 years ago. That is so bad.
Devin Booker went 13, bro?
Devin Booker went 13, yeah.
That's a lot of teams that fucked up, boy.
Well, dude, 8 of the first 12, the guy's not even in the league anymore.
That's not.
Like, how terrible is that?
Who was on Kentucky at that time that Booker got drafted 13?
Yeah, Towns was. But that's not like how, Willie Cauley-Stein on Kentucky. Trey Lyles and Devin Booker were both on Kentucky. Yeah, he was actually the 4th out of 4 Kentucky guys to go. He went 4th. Andrew Harrison was on Kentucky. He won the 2nd round, which I think his brother also probably went in this draft or the next draft. So, yeah, terrible draft. Horrendous. Absolutely horrendous.
Joe, what did you think about that KP quote? And just even over the past couple years, even since Washington, like how we've seen him talk about Knick fans and just himself in general. We've heard
I think it's all, I blame Phil Jackson, man. Phil Jackson's one of the worst hires we've had, which is saying something because we had Isaiah Thomas and Scott, whatever his name is in the mid-2000s. Like this Scott Layman, I don't remember his name. There's been some terrible hires by this organization, and somehow Phil Jackson was like the ultimate rock bottom that got us to Leon Rose through Steve Mills thing.
Well, without no Phil, there's no Leon, so it was a necessity. It was a necessity for us.
Bad about Phil to Frank, boy.
No, listen. I'm
Andrew Harrison is other both.
Phil Jackson will always to me be a product of the players that he had. Phil Jackson is one of the greatest coaches of all time. I think that Pop might be better than him, in my humble opinion. But with that being said, Phil Jackson always had all-time players on his roster to run that said triangle. So, I mean, I can get into the – me and Terrence used to talk triangle all the time. But unfortunately, players just don't buy in like they used to.
Bro, the Golden State Warriors ruined any and all old forms of modern elbow basketball.
I just want to say this for anybody that's listening that doesn't know this about Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo Anthony was supposed to be the 3rd person on the big 3 of the Miami Heat. The reason that Carmelo Anthony did not get traded or signed with the Miami Heat was because he decided to secure the bag and sign an extension in Denver. So that is a telltale sign right there that Carmelo Anthony is not a man that buys into anything other than what he deems good for himself. So when I saw that, I knew that Carmelo would never really be successful in the triangle. It takes too much discipline. Not to say that Carmelo isn't a disciplined player. He just is not somebody that buys into things. So Phil was a necessity for the Knicks, unfortunately, and it got us to where we needed to be currently. So I am thankful for Phil. Regardless to if he ran our team into the ground or not.
Carmelo Anthony, one of the best non-television forms of media there is right now. Every time this dude's on a podcast, he always drops some knowledge. He always drops a great story. Like, I don't even care to listen to most player podcasts because it's most guys are like not willing to admit how good or bad they are. Like, why am I going to listen to Pat Beverly? You know, Pat Beverly thinks he's a top 5 point guard. He's not. I don't need that. I don't need that that blind arrogance, you know what I mean? But Melo, post-retirement, Melo has been phenomenal for the podcast. And Mero and him work together so well.
So, Yanni, I'm a huge fan of Carmelo Anthony. I actually modeled not a lot, but a good portion of my actual game by Melo, the elbow, just his ability to shoot out of the three-point stance. He is not 3-point stance, the triple threat. Carmelo Anthony is one of the purest scorers you will ever see. But when he came to the Knicks, I knew that we were not going to win a championship. I said it to Terrence when it happened. I'll never forget it. We were sitting in a park in Manhattan, and I was just like, dude, I don't think Carmelo's the guy. And he's proven it that he wasn't the guy. Unfortunately, I do agree with you, though, Joe. He has been exceptional on these podcasts. He gives you a lot of insight, and he's extremely honest. That's the beauty of Carmelo Anthony. Of course he can. Of course, Carmelo was blackballed out of the NBA. Carmelo can give you more than 30. Carmelo can still probably average 20 points a game if he had the minutes. No joke. Carmelo is a walking bucket. No doubt. Right now. No doubt.
Wait, JJ McDougal, by the way, is trying to say Pat Beverly is top 5 defensively. Top 5 for what? And what year is this? 2017?
I'm talking about Pat Bev, Joe. I fuck with Pat Bev heavy.
I know, dude. I know you do. I still don't understand your version of liking or disliking NBA players. Russell Westbrook's your god still. I don't understand.
No, not me. I don't care for
Russell. That's
Vin. Vin's in the background, thumbs upping, dude. Oh my god, I couldn't get over this guy. By the way,
listen. He doesn't even deserve to be on my fantasy team, but I can't let him go.
I want everyone to actually. Because we always talk about not always, but we off the record we talk about Russell Westbrook versus James Harden. So Frank, I want to actually ask you this because you're not the one that's usually in the conversation. Who do you think at their peak was a better basketball player, and who do you think had a better NBA career?
Out of those two?
Out of Russell Westbrook and James Harden.
They're the same guy. Same guy. I honestly think that they both aren't winners, and I think that their style of basketball is so okay. How do I frame this? So when Russell Westbrook went to the Lakers, I thought that it was the best idea for the Lakers. I thought that if you run Russell Westbrook off of the bench, you basically have LeBron James light off of the bench. And he did not do that due to ego and whatever it may be. Who would I rather have on my team? Probably Russell, because Russell gets your blood pumping a little bit more. When James is running point guard for D'Antoni in Houston, when he was going nuts, he was having like 15, 20 assist games, going nuts. And I think he won the MVP that year, I believe, if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure.
He did.
That guy was one of the best basketball players that you've ever seen. Like, seriously, that guy was out of his mind playing that year. Still didn't do anything. So,
I mean, I don't know that they didn't do anything. They lost to one of the greatest teams of all time, the Golden State Warriors, and they took them to 7 games. That is something.
They were up 3-1, right?
Originally.
Were they up 3-1 in that?
I believe so.
Or is that the K? No, that's the one that KD.
No. That was the OKC. That was OKC. The Rockets were up 3-2 and lost the last 2. They weren't up 3-1 though.
That team was that when he had Chris Paul or was that?
It was Chris Paul.
So then it was a Chris Paul thing. It was a Chris Paul not being there. Well, he was probably hurt. I'm assuming.
Chris Paul did get hurt Game 5.
Yeah. What a surprise.
Do you think your starting point guard is going to make the NBA Finals? Well, let me tell you about Chris Paul's.
Yeah,
Chris Paul and all of his body parts.
I guess if I were to choose a player, then I'd still have to go with Russ, just because the guy averaged 2 triple-doubles 2 seasons in a row. He did something that was unheard of for a very long time, and then he did it again, and then we acted as if it wasn't that big of a deal. So imagine a guy averaging 2 triple-doubles 2 years in a row, and then the second year going like, all right, guy, we get it, So I would probably go with Russ, but I do think that you have a better chance of winning with James, if that makes sense.
Frank, I want to get off James Harden and Russell Westbrook, and I don't know how you feel about the conundrum that we're currently in with Alec Burks and Miles McBride.
No, I'm not. Tell me about it.
I'm
not like a huge social media guy.
I'm sure you've been watching the games, right? And I'm sure you've been seeing Alec Burks to me and to a lot of other fans, hasn't been playing that well. I'm just going to run through some numbers.
Yeah.
Last game versus Boston, 19 minutes, 7 points, 3 rebounds, 27% from the field, 1 for 7 from 3. February 22nd against Philly.
Is this Alec Burks?
13 minutes, 7 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist. Joe, your favorite topic probably. 2
I love talking about Alec Burks and Deuce McBride and how this should go.
I'll go to just the last game after that, his third game. His third game with the Knicks, at Orlando. February 14th, 30 minutes, 13 points, 31% from the field, 2 for 6 from 3, a bunch of bullshit that I don't want to see. And then we got McBride. Let me go through his last 3 games. 16 minutes, 11 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 71% from the field. Against Philly, 17 minutes, 4 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 50% from the field. And then against Orlando, 32 minutes, 8 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist, 2 steals. That game he didn't shoot well. He shot 2 for 11, but we obviously seen the impact of both. It's kind of apparent to me, and I'm pretty sure Joe as well. I don't know how you feel, that Deuce McBride is deserving of most of Alec Burks' minutes, not all of them. So what are your thoughts?
I think within 4 minutes of a game whether Alec Burks has it or not. And if he doesn't have it in the first half, he doesn't need to play the second half. This dude either needs 6 minutes in a game or 25. There's no middle ground with him. You know what really sucked about like the Alec Burks coming to the Knicks experience so far? And again, it's early. We all wrote Precious off early. Him and Bohan, when they actually go into the roles they're supposed to be in, like a couple more guys down the totem pole, rotation-wise, it's going to make more sense. But the very first game that Alec Burks played against Indiana, he scored 22 points, and he had a lot of fourth quarter points when the Knicks were down 10-15 the whole time. So, like, it wasn't quite garbage time, but Indiana, who is one of the worst defensive teams in the league, let him get going in the fourth quarter. And then Tibbs was like, yeah, well, this is exactly Alec Burks I remember. You can get a microwave going. He can get going anytime. You need to give him the ball. And it's like, dude, he scored 22 the first game. He went 5, 13, 7, 7 since then. He went 7 of 14 this first game and 4 of 7 from 3. Since then, he's gone 1 for 5, 2 for 6, 2 for 4, 1 for 7 from 3, and he's missed more 2s than 3-pointers. Like,
is he playing out of position though? Maybe.
What is Alec Burks' position?
Not his.
He's a two.
His role in the offense and what he's being asked of right now is it more than what he's going to be asked for when the Knicks are fully healthy going into the playoffs? Assuming if the Knicks were healthy, knock on wood, pray, whatever you got to do for Mitch, Randle, and OG to come back in at least 80% each. Alec Burks is going to get less than 6 minutes a game in the postseason. We all know Julius Randle is going to. Not Julius Randle. Tom Thibodeau is going to go to an eight-man rotation in the playoffs. He might do some 9-man in the first round, maybe even some 10, assuming Precious is doing really, really well and you can't not play these guys. Maybe he'll do the old school Tibbs hockey sub 5 in, 5 out thing. But by the time he gets to game 3, we're down to 8 men. And the 8 dudes are going to be the starting 5, Josh Hart, Bojan Bogdanovic, and the non-starting center, Mitchell Robinson, Isaiah Hartenstein. And it might be Precious instead of Bojan, depending on the matchup and what's needed in that game. But only 8 dudes are going to be getting minutes every game. And 2 of the guys off the bench are the other center and Josh Hart. So there's one player. There's one spare player for Precious, Bojan, Alec Burks, Deuce McBride. If you want to add Jericho Sims, I think he's the odd man out, obviously, in this. And even before then, Deuce McBride is unfortunately the odd man out in this. Alec Burks and Bojan Bogdanovic, they got for depth in the regular season to make sure they can maintain their seed more than anything. And they got Bojan more specifically to fill in the Evan Fournier $18 to $19 million trade role next year because he makes $18.5 million next year. It's only partially guaranteed, so they could get rid of him if he wanted to. Alec Burks isn't here to do what he did 2 years ago. He's here to score 10 points a game and not screw up the rotation or the flow of the game.
So that trade was for Bogey, right? Now that we see that trade go through, we realize the guy that we really wanted to bring in was Bogey. That's the guy that's going to probably get the majority of the minutes out of any of those players in that trade. The beauty of having Alex Burke, and this is kind of what I was alluding to a few weeks back before we made these deals. Alex Burke is the kind of guy that when your offense hits a lull, you can just throw him in, and he has the ability to produce his own offense. Having a microwave on your bench is a really, really good thing. I don't think you're going to see a lot of him once everything starts to come back, everyone's healthy, and we start to get this rotation back in order. But don't get me wrong, if there is a point where we are cold and there is somebody that needs to go get a bucket, they're going to put in Alex Burke. That's the kind of guy that I think he is.
Here, just a comment on this. Bob, who I appreciate, he's on a lot of these. He listens to a lot of our stuff and a lot of other Knicks content. I know that you're more of a grass is always green, not greener on the other side. Your grass is currently green. You have a lot of belief. I'll bet you a week's paycheck that there's not a single playoff game that doesn't have garbage time that Tibbs goes beyond 10 people. There's not a single game that Tibbs is playing 12 guys. No chance.
And just the only reason, how tall is Deuce McBride? 6'3"?
6'1".
Okay, so he's smaller than I thought. The only reason that you can't just straight up be like, here, Deuce, here's all Alec Burke's minutes. Here, Burke, here's all of Deuce's minutes. It's just size, man. It really just comes down to matchup. Do I think that Deuce McBride has a better flow in our offense and has found his confidence in our offense and at the three-point line, absolutely, this guy has been shooting lights out from three. And I really hate when coaches start to deduce these minutes to try and implement other guys to get them into the swing of things. You had something that's working. The only problem is that the people that we brought in which it was working with are all hurt. So now we're scrambling because, like Joe said, these guys were brought in to kind of keep us afloat through, get us into the good seedings for the playoffs so we don't have to face Boston and later, earlier than we need to. Unfortunately, it's just our team got hurt. It's just, and then Knicks media is like, oh, what do we do now? What do we do? And it's just like, just keep it afloat, let everyone get back, and then let these minutes.
So before we wrap this up, I want to get one last topic in. What is the Knicks playoff rotation when this team becomes fully healthy? Joe, you're good with like the minutes distribution. So if you want to break down, give me a little breakdown of minutes.
So I'm telling you, it's going to mostly be 8 dudes, and that's what Tibbs, and not just Tibbs, most playoff coaches when it gets to the postseason, they play 8, some play 9. They don't go 10. They don't do 11 or 12 because you don't have that many minutes to go around. Jalen Brunson, OG Anunoby, and Julius Randle, if he's healthy, are all getting over 40 minutes a game.
Yes.
Point blank.
In the playoffs, yep.
In the playoffs. Yep. Mitchell Robinson, if he's healthy, and Isaiah Hartenstein, and if not Mitch, then Precious and Isaiah Hartenstein, are combining for the 48 minutes at the center spot.
Yep.
So all of those minutes are gone. So then you only have 8 minutes each, 1 through 3. That's 24 minutes to go, and then Devo gets 30, right? So those minutes are gone. Josh Hart gets 25 to 30, so those minutes are gone. And I've only said 7 players. There's only 18 to 22 minutes left off the top of my head to go around. And that's going to Bogdanovich or Precious. And that's it. That's the whole thing.
9, Joe? He's not going 9. He didn't touch 9 last year?
Very rarely. Almost never.
So
I think it all
playoff minutes?
I think so. So if I may, I think that a lot of this is going to be, you have to also think, right, because you got to think of it this way. The only way I can see Thibodeau going to a 9-man and possibly a 10-man rotation all has to do with the amount of durability these players have come playoff time. See, so the Knicks have been absolutely decimated on our roster, and we've been plugging and playing, making these moves so we can stay afloat. But the problem is that these guys, like a Jalen Brunson, are going to be playing massive amount of minutes. And come playoff time, there's a good chance that these guys are going to be tired. I understand that they're professionals. This is their job, so on and so forth. But they're still human beings at the end of the day. So the only way that I can see Thibodeau expanding their roster come playoff time has to do with just their overall conditioning, how their bodies are, warranted. Nobody else gets hurt. Nobody has a nagging injury that they can play with, so on and so forth. Regular Tibbs, yes. 8-man rotation during the playoffs. You play these guys until they're dead. But I think that this season kind of threw us a monkey wrench, and we have to kind of play to the amount of minutes that these guys are having to play. So that's the only way I could see this rotation being expanded in the playoffs.
Do you guys want to hear what the box score was for the Game 6 last year that we lost to Miami, just to really indicate like how much every coach does this?
Yeah,
almost every single coach.
Sure. Yeah.
I could even go through like games 1 and 2, so it's more balanced. But
no, go ahead.
So Game 6, Miles McBride was the 9th guy off the bench. No one else played beyond 9. Miles McBride got 3 minutes in the game. Game 6, Cody Zeller was their 9th guy off the bench. He played 9 minutes. Yeah. And that's because they start Kevin Love, who only plays 16. But most of your starters, most of your best players, they're all getting 35 to 45 in the postseason. That's it. Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle only got 36 because he was hurt and terrible in this game last year. Julius Randle, Jalen Brunson, OG Anunoby are all playing 40 plus almost every game. Quick, and then there's not a lot of minutes.
Real quick, if you see this guy Julius Randle struggling again to pass out of double teams, are you benching him?
I'm pulling him for longer.
There's no fucking way Tibbs is benching him, bro.
Not in the sense of benching completely, but are you reducing his minutes? If you see this guy struggling like he's struggled in the playoffs again, you don't make an adjustment?
I feel like we've almost – I'm a Randle guy, but I feel like we've almost –
Me too.
We've seen some pretty hairy things from Randle, and Tibbs has not sent them to the
I
bench.
know. Yeah. That's a good
Last
point.
year when Randle was hurt for a lot of the playoffs, he was getting between 32 and 37. He wasn't getting 40 because of his injury.
No, I don't
Two-
even think he played
Against the
that
Hawks,
bad.
he was getting 40 plus.
Come on, he didn't play that bad last year. He played.
Ange,
Did he play worse so last year or the series against a series against Atlanta?
I mean, the Atlanta series was just a wake-up call for him. He played worse than the Atlanta series, but they were both bad, dude. They were
It's
both
not-
bad. It was
They
like
were
a,
both-
it was like an F and a
both
D
really
minus. They were both
Yeah,
bad.
they were both really bad, and that's
Okay,
the only thing I worry about.
So now, what about the series against Cleveland? He had a pretty good series.
No, he didn't. He had one good game. He had the one great game. He had one great half in game 5 and then got hurt again. Once he finally got his feet under him and started figuring out Evan Mobley, he literally twisted his ankle again on Jared Allen's foot.
Listen, I think what's going to come down to this postseason is if Randle doesn't perform, we might hear some chatter in the offseason. I'm hoping that he performs well.
As do I. Me too.
But, this is the third time he's brought us to the playoffs, right? All NBA player, 2 out of the last 3 or whatever, 3 out of the last 4, whatever it is.
I'm not giving him. I'm not going to give him this year. He did not bring us.
Probably not going to get it this year.
Jalen Brunson is the reason we are where we are, and let's not make any other comment other than that. It's been Jalen. Jalen Brunson has been putting on an MVP performance for the Knicks all season long.
I think we should just end with this basically. Anyone that does think that the rotation will be longer than that, remember there's only 240 minutes to go around in a basketball game for 5 guys that are on the court at the same time. And if 48 minutes for Tom Thibodeau is immediately given to the center and there's only 2 of them, try to figure out where the other 192 go, and you're not getting to 10. And Bob, you don't have to answer this. I wanted to ask if you were under the age of 24 because I think that would answer a lot of my questions personally about your philosophies. But yeah, dude, it's not just Tibbs. It's not just the Knicks. It's
everywhere. Yeah, it's everywhere.
Every team in the playoffs goes 8 or less. They go 9 or less first round, 8.5 in the second round, 8 in the third round, and then by the finals, if you're there, it's 7.5 dudes. That's just every year. That's just how it is.
Yeah, and if anybody thinks you're playing more than 8 players, you're wrong, okay? Because Joe said so, and that's it. So if you have any opinions,
just go back in history, man. Just go look it up.
Listen,
all
take your opinions
and
and shove them up your ass. All right?
Just go back and look at box scores, man. I'm not making it up. Been watching NBA my whole life.
I know, I'm busting your chops. No, you are right. When it comes playoff time, they're going to tighten it up, and they're going to play. The beauty of tightening up our rotation is that we have guys in which we can rest people. Who knows? You start Isaiah. You can start whoever you want now because we've seen that these guys have the ability to be successful.
JJ McDoolittle is speaking my language, by the way. They're only playing 6, and Deuce is one of the 6. There we go. That's how you win a title.
By the way, I seen your tweet about that was me that tweeted that. By the way, about are we there yet? McBride over Burks.
Oh, Ange, thank God. Thank you for coming to the light side.
What did you tweet again? That was funny.
I was like, I didn't tweet this for anyone that's imagining, including myself. I literally looked in the mirror. I didn't say all this, but I literally was like, did I write that?
Can you? Sorry.
Didn't you write something like I feel like a proud father or something like that?
Sounded like that, yeah.
Can you guys put up this funny how Randle's been great by Bob? That comment real quick, and then I just want to touch on that.
Randle's been great this year, but no one gives him credit. It's not just
everyone's it is just Jalen. It is because if you took Jalen off of this team would not be as successful as it is right now. We would be at the bottom of the East with just Julius Randle on this team. It is just because of Jalen Brunson. I don't. Your age. I'm 30. I'm going to be 35.
No, it's because I said I thought he would be under 25 with his opinions.
Oh, I was going to say, I thought he was flexing his age. That's what Terrence used to do to me. I'm old. I got 10 years. I've been watching these guys. It is just Jalen. Julius Randle has been a fantastic compliment to Jalen, and he's been a great Robin to Jalen, and this is what he's always needed to be. But without this guy, Jalen Brunson, we are a 7 seed. We're a play-in team.
Last thing, and let's get off here because my dog was eating my couch and now she's crying.
Yeah,
because I put her in the cage. how far if Julius Randle isn't healthy, like he's not 100%, he's doing whack, he gets benched, whatever, he misses games. How far would the Knicks have to get with Jalen and OG as their 1-2 for Julius Randle to be expendable to you guys in the offseason?
First round. Got to make it out of the first round, and you're gone.
And I know this hurts you more.
I mean, what more do you want? If we get further without, if we get to the same spot without him,
that's fact. And dude, if we're the 4 or 5 seed and we lose to Boston in the second round, like everyone would expect, it's
am
like
I crazy? Listen, I get it. I get the guy's a bulldog. I get he plays hard. I get he's really good for New York because he's tough. I understand I think he's a great player. His ability to shoot around the rim, he's great. He's crafty. He's all these things. I'll get rid of him. It's like to me, you're the 4. It's a guard heavy league, man. It's a guard heavy league.
Ange, what about you?
That's why you got Brook Lopez in the top 10 of friggin' centers, because it's a guard heavy league, dude.
That's facts. He's 11th, but yeah, exactly.
I'm holding down the
Am I
Randle.
crazy?
They got to get to the Eastern Conference Finals
Without him?
with the
You're
fuck
crazy.
out him.
What did Julius?
Before we go, dude, if they take Boston to 6 hard-fought games, and lose in the second round, are you not like, wow, they actually did good without Julius Randle?
They went to the second round and got that?
It's all about seeding and matchups. If they're in the 4-5, they are losing to Boston whenever they play them. Whenever. First round, second round, conference finals. They're going to lose to Boston. So are you pissed? Are you like, this was a failed season if they lose to Boston in the second round?
If they get
Without
to the
Randle?
second round without Randle, I'm going to call it a pretty successful season. Yeah. Does that make him expendable?
Yes.
And then what?
Because then you think about if you add him to the equation, like a healthy Randle.
I've been saying all year, I don't think this team, even fully healthy, is better than the Boston Celtics, who are one of the 10 best teams the past 25 years by net rating and everything else.
I disagree with that. I think that fully healthy, the Knicks are just as good as Boston.
I think fully healthy, we lose in 7, and partly healthy, we lose in 5.
I'm good with losing in 7, but I think that we are closer matched up. I think we're deeper than Boston, and I think that with a full healthy roster, I think we're more talented than Boston.
Almighty Finesse. There's way too many Knick fans that have been saying this for the past, 2, 3, 4 weeks, 2 months, that Boston ain't it. They're it, man. Just watch that starting 5. Watch them move.
Last time I was on this podcast, I told you, or this live, I told you that if I was a gambling man, I would put my money on the Celtics to win the championship.
And they're the favorites for a reason. And Boston and Denver is the favorite finals matchup for a reason, which I said before the beginning of the year, before they even got KP. All right,
guys. I gotta go. We gotta go because hopefully, iHeart got his merch that we sent him, and hopefully the Knicks social media team posts him in it because he's supposed to wear it tonight or tomorrow. So I gotta prep the site, get that shirt up. But yeah,
let's go.
Let's close it off here.
Let's go. Let's GTFO. Boston's bench is trash. Benches don't matter in the playoffs, man. And they were not as good as they were last year. I mean, they're better than they were last year, 100%.